welcome to Casa Greg. Now this is my photo studio come third bedroom in our house, but there we go. So yeah, this is where all the action happens, as it were. Now this is my first Quickshotz video, and I apologise for the lighting. I'm going to get that sorted out for future vlogs like this. Yeah, Quickshotz, where it's going to be a series of videos where I'm going to be talking about a specific subject, quite short and to the point, rather than one of my longer extended location type of vlogs. Now today I'm going to be talking about tripods. This is about tripods. Woo. Tripods. Now about tripods. Talk to you about tripods, and this is the. I'm going to continue. It's all about tripods. Now you've just tripods. These things, tripods. About these things, tripods. Now this is take number 782, I think, but hopefully this will be the one that gets us to the end. Right, so tripods. You're a landscape photographer, or you want to do landscape photography, and you've just spent $4,000 or $5,000 or pounds on some really expensive photography equipment, and you want to put it on something nice and strong and stable, a tripod. Now, having spent all that money, you might not have a lot of money left, and you might be tempted to use something cheap and cheerful, but you really do get what you pay for. Now, these days, there are two types of tripod. Really, there's aluminium tripods and there are carbon fibre tripods, and today I'm going to be talking about carbon fibre. But if you're a seascaper, predominantly a seascaper, or interested in coastal work, then the type of tripod that you want to be considering over the other is aluminium. And the reason for that is because it's more resistant to salt water. Now it does react to salt water. You put aluminium in salt water and you get aluminium oxide, but as long as you give it a good rinse and clean after each time you go to the beach, you shouldn't encounter any problems or major problems. Now if you are a seascaper and you want to use a carbon fibre tripod, then that's where you are going to run into problems, because carbon fibre reacts to salt water by expanding and contracting almost immediately, which is why a lot of seascapers tend to have problems, who have carbon fibre tripods, tend to have problems with these things, the locking mechanisms. The expansion and contraction causes to failure of these. It also causes failure of the glue, which puts the feet in, they put the feet into, all those kinds of things. So yeah, eventually you're going to have a problem with your tripod, with the locking mechanisms, anything that's glued, anything like that. So that's why seascapers should really think about aluminium over carbon fibre. Now, for everybody else who's a landscape photographer, you're probably going to want to be thinking about carbon fibre, because it is perceived as being stronger and lighter than aluminium, and that is a point to, or that is a case to a point, but not all carbon fibre tripods are created equal. Now, I use a Jitso Mountaineer Series 2 GT2542 as my main tripod, and the vlogging camera is on a Series 1 tripod from Jitso that I also use for longer hikes, just because it's a little bit smaller and a little bit lighter. Now, Jitso are not cheap, and what I'm about to say kind of goes for other brands such as Faisal and Really Right Stuff as well, that are also rather expensive. Now, why aren't they cheap? Well, you're actually paying for quite a lot of technology in these things. Now, Jitso use a carbon fibre which is manufactured to a very high modulus index, the Young's modulus, which is an index as to how stiff the carbon fibre is. Now, Jitso designed theirs to be much like fishing rods, which have to be very strong and very stiff, and that's the same sort of principle behind this. Now, what that actually means is that the tubes can be much thinner walled, which means that the tube that goes into it can be thicker, again with a thinner wall, and so on and so forth until you get down to the very bottom tube, which tends to be a lot thicker on a Jitso tripod than another brand. What they also do is the way that they lay the carbon fibre down is done in such a way that any vibrations that come through at the bottom, come through the ground, tend to fizzle out as they get to the top of the tripod. So in the end, what you end up with is a very strong, a very stiff, and a very vibration-free tripod platform onto which you put your head and then your camera. Now, in recent years, there's been an influx of other brands, mostly manufactured in China, which tend to use off-the-shelf components. And when you first look at them, you think actually they're really good value. They tend to be about half the price or even less of an equivalent Jitso. They tend to be rather light. And appear quite sturdy, but they're just not, because of the type of material that's used. Now, they call themselves carbon fibre tripods, but if you were to saw them in half and look through a microscope, you will find that the carbon fibre is also infused with glass fibre in those carbon fibre tripods. And the reason for that is to keep manufacturing costs down. It's a much cheaper component, and what that actually means is it has a much lower Young's modulus index to it. So in effect, what you get is a much less stable and vibration free tripod. Now, that's not to say that they're not as good as a Jitso, but to get an equivalent tripod from one of these other brands, as you would get for a Jitso in terms of stability and vibration resistance, you would have to have a much thicker and a much heavier tripod. Put two side by side, put a Jitso side by side with one of those other brands, or a Faisal side by side with those other brands, or an Art Really Right Stuff tripod of the same size and weight, and Jitso, Faisal or Really Right Stuff will be a much better prospect for getting your final image vibration free. Now, there's only one caveat to that, and I would say that is Manfrotto. Now, Manfrotto are the same company as Jitso. They're owned by the same parent company, but they again use carbon fibre tubes, a bit like Jitso, only manufactured to a slightly lower spec on the modulus index. So that's why they tend to be about half the price of a Jitso. But yeah, if you're looking for a budget option, then Manfrotto is pretty much your only option. And if you don't mind spending a little more, then go for Jitso, Faisal or Really Right Stuff. So that's why your tripod choice really is quite important. That's why established manufacturers such as Jitso are much more expensive, but what you are paying for is a hell of a lot of technology in these things. So there we go. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this informative little vlog. I'll link to the modulus page so you can investigate that yourself. Now, it's important to say that this vlog is not endorsed by any of the brands that I've mentioned. It's not supported in any way. This is just through my own research. And yeah, so next time I will talk about something else to do with photography. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe. And maybe you might enjoy following me on some of my adventures sometime.